Roughing the passer calls.
What is up, everybody? We are back and we are live as always. Got myself, the DH, and what is going on, Mr. Newman?
I'm having Steeler withdrawals.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to get to watch a Steeler game this week, and apparently not. I'm still rocking the gear like hey, we didn't lose, so.
No, you didn't lose. But no, obviously COVID attacking the NFL this week, pushing y'all's game, as well as, I guess the Patriots game is going to go on Monday, it looks like. Patriots own both of their planes, so they're a little more equipped to travel than literally any team in the league. So it might have made this a little bit easier for them to push that game, as I did see they're going to take the two planes that they owe to that game. It looks like Monday night. What this is going to look like, I have no idea. But I don't know if there's anything in particular you wanted to start off with, John. But I mean, we'll go down and look at the list of scores, because I want to take a look at a couple of things, and there's a bunch of these games that stick out to me. Obviously, Thursday you had the Broncos beating the Jets. Shocker.
How does Adam Gase still have a job on Sunday night?
I thought for sure he was going to be fired on Friday. I did not think that they would want to go into this next week with him as their coach. I thought they would have done it before 5 o'clock on Friday. That way you have the weekend off. You get all the other headlines. You don't have to answer as many questions about it. But, I mean, the Jets can't get anything else right. Why could they get firing a coach right? I mean, seriously. If there's going to be, honestly, if there's going to be a team that's going to fuck this up, it's going to be the Jets. In all honesty. But yeah, he's a big problem. You saw a lot of animosity in that game with Vic calling his team off the field when the game was over. Probably has something to do with the Greg Williams-led defense. Once again, shocker. But I mean, it was an interesting game, that's for sure. But I don't think he has a job for much longer. I'll agree with that.
No way.
No. Then you also had the Saints and Drew Brees getting back on track today with 35-29 over the Lions. The Bucks and the Chargers, we'll talk about that game a lot, I'm sure. Very entertaining, a lot of fun. Bengals, Joe Burrow gets his first win, obviously over a Jacksonville squad. Get the Vikings over the Texans. The Seahawks struggled more than I thought they would against the Dolphins, but they won. The Browns and Cowboys played a damn Madden video game. Jesus Christ, dude. I was just hoping they were going to get to 100. I wanted to see professional football teams hit 100 points. And so that's all I was cheering for.
This was Tecmo Bowl. Remember Tecmo Bowl?
Yes. This
where no one could stop anyone?
Yep. This was Barry Sanders and Tecmo Bowl. I mean, it was unstopped. Nobody stopped anybody. It was a pathetic display of defensive football, which we'll touch on later, I'm sure. Panthers, for some reason, keep winning, beating the Cardinals. Ravens over Washington. Rams over the Giants. Bills narrowly beating the Raiders and avoiding a Josh Allen injury that looked like it was going to be rough. Colts edge the Bears. And the Eagles and 49ers are locked in the most exciting game of the week at 8-7 at halftime. They saved the best for last with this Sunday night shit. Jesus. But crazy week, man. A lot of interesting games, guys. As always, please call in and join the show. I'm going to be putting the link here in the chat in just a minute. Sound off about your team. Any of the games this week, let us know what you think. Once again, welcome everybody from Twitch for joining the show as well. But yeah, John. So, I mean, let's start off right here. I want to start off with Joe Burrow, because the Bengals, they get that win against Jacksonville. Jacksonville actually played pretty decent. Chenault, I swear to God, they put that kid everywhere. They know they have something special in him. I just don't think they know what to do with it yet. And you see them putting him. I mean, the kid's lined up everywhere. And he's produced.
He might win Rookie of the Year. He's a Rookie of the Year candidate.
He's got to be. He's definitely
and who would have thunk it?
No. I mean,
now, a lot of people liked him. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the kid is, like you just pointed out, super talented. But I think he was sort of overshadowed with the CeeDee Lambs, the Jerry Judys, and he sort of was kind of like on that next level. But I think he's showing, as you so pointed out, that he's right there. Look what he's doing. You know, Minshew is playing well, but look what he's doing with, how should I word this? Not a tier 1 quarterback.
No, absolutely. I mean, that's the toughest part, and that's why I think a lot of people jumped off of him, was because he was a wide receiver going to Jacksonville. And that's normally, I mean, look at Allen Robinson. That's normally where prime years of your career go to die. And
just ask D.D. Westbrook.
Yes, you get. There's a million examples of Jacksonville receivers that just had just been shit on. And so this kid, though, I love him. I thought he played great today, but obviously the big thing is Joe Burrow getting his first win. And apparently, since every single game can set a record these days, he was the first rookie quarterback to throw for 300 yards in 3 straight games. So congratulations for that meaningless record, Joe Burrow. But so Burrow getting his first win. I mean, he impressed me. He continues to impress me. I think it's the Bengals. It's the Bengals, so it's hard for me to take them seriously until they keep doing it. But I don't know. I really like what I see from this kid. I thought they were going to win this game. I'm pretty sure it was in one of my picks, unless I erased it. But I really thought that he was going to come out and win this game today. And I think this is a really big step for him, because this is a team that should have won in week 1. They missed a field goal. They've been competitive most weeks, and he seems to be getting better every week. Getting that first win, important for a lot of reasons, not just to him, but for the team. But I love what I see out of him so far.
Yeah, I hate this. I know I preface this, but every time I talk about Burrow and the Bengals being a Steeler guy, I love Joe Burrow. That hurts to say, but I think he's going to be a superstar quarterback in this league. And I think the way he's been playing and the way the Bengals have been playing bodes well for him staying there. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know what your feelings are on this. I don't really think he wanted to go to Cincinnati. I think he knew it was inevitable. I think he knew they were going to take him with that number 1 pick. I don't think if he had a real say in it, and I don't think him and his dad wanted to pull an Eli Manning 2.0. But I honestly also don't think he really ideally wanted to go there, because I think they thought it was going to be 0-16, 2-14, hard to look good and not play well because of the personnel, the coaches, the ownership, and the opposite's really happened. He's playing well. They're playing competitive. Today they win. He's an Ohio kid, so I think he may come around to maybe, if they add a few more pieces and give him more weapons as the first few years go by here, because they're going to have him for a couple years for sure before he can jump ship. If they put all the pieces in the right, holes in the next year or 2 or 3, I mean, to me, they got their franchise quarterback. Now the question is he going to stay there, or is he going to make his name somewhere else? I think early indications are like they got a good shot for him to be the answer that really Andy Dalton wasn't. And it was good. Andy Dalton didn't play terrible. Andy Dalton's an NFL quarterback, but it just didn't seem to he couldn't get him past a certain point. And we always hear this in football. This, Drew. He has that it factor. He has it. Whatever it really. No one can actually define what it is. Right. It's just in quotes. But Burrow has that it that I think Andy Dalton lacked. And I know we're talking about 4 games here. Don't get me wrong, but based on what we saw last year at LSU and what we've seen in 4 games, the kid can play, and they're going to get more picks to put around him. They fixed that defense a little bit more. I'll be honest, even as a Steeler fan, they're going to be something to deal with in years to come.
No, I agree with you. And they're protecting him right now, which is important.
Yep.
He's not getting. I mean, you see these number one draft picks these days. I mean, these quarterbacks coming in, even not number one, they're getting beat up like crazy. They're protecting him. I mean, granted, it has a lot to do with his mobility as well. But I mean, he's played great. I'm excited to see what happens in the future for him. I agree with you. I don't think he wanted to go to Cincinnati, but I don't think I mean, they're already putting out articles. Should Trevor Lawrence go back to Clemson if the Jets draft him? Well, no. I mean, it's the Jets. Yeah, I understand that. But what dumpster fire is going to land in your lap next year? Like, you don't know. I mean, what team is going to self-destruct, implode, and do you want to go there? So, and then do you want to have those optics? It's a lot different than when Eli forced that trade.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't think there's a landscape today where you could really do that and have the public perception and the public actually go along with you like Eli was able to a little bit in this day and age. In this internet day and age, I don't think you can force your way out of a situation like that and come out on the other side looking good. You can probably force your way out, but you're going to look like a piece of shit.
Yeah, and with these number one picks, especially quarterbacks, that's the thing. You want to be the number one pick, but you got to realize like the team picking number one has got the number one pick because they suck. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. You want to be a late first rounder, a mid round draft pick quarterback. You could be, but you're not going to get the accolades. You're not going to get the same paycheck. I mean, what do you want? You know what I mean? I mean, to me, you kind of got to go where you go and then just play the best you can. You don't have to re-sign there. I mean, there's no rule that says you're stuck there for the rest of your life. And I think in some cases, I think we're seeing this now with Joe Burrow, Drew. I think you might see like the temperature in the room change and a player actually warm up, like go from, do a 180. Hey, I really didn't want to be here, but this, you know what? I'm having fun. I like this city. We're playing competitive football. We're getting some new guys coming in here, and they do, they have a change of heart. And I think,
and I mean, let's be honest, Ohio is also very good at embracing the athletes that come there. And so he's going to be treated, if he performs like he is, he's going to be treated as a god, especially over there in Cincy, been waiting for somebody for a while. I don't think many of them were ever sold on Dalton. I never was to the extent that you were. But I like what I see there. He's got a lot of talented players around him. One of them I want to talk about a little bit later in a different segment of the show. But yeah, Joe Burrow looks great. Got the first win. Congratulations, Mr. Burrow, and for that meaningless stat as well. But John, before we get into game balls and goats, I do want to touch on. I know you guys had an off week, but I want someone else's opinion on my Carolina Panthers for a minute because I'm probably not going to talk about them again today. But we win again today. We're 2-2. We're a game out of first place in the division in what was supposed to be, at least in most Panther fans' eyes, a tanking year. You have a new quarterback. I mean, you got a new quarterback, new head coach, new owner, new defensive coordinator, new offensive. I mean, it's changed throughout the entire board. Kuechly's gone, Newton's gone, but yeah, here we are at 2-2, and I got to be honest, I'm disappointed.
McCaffrey's not playing.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, I guess I don't know. I know him from on college, but whatever you get, these college guys get, hired to coach in the NFL. You don't know what you get. I don't think I know what a team's getting. Look at Cliff Kingsbury, his first year or two. Did not knock anyone's socks off in Arizona. Playing better this year, but they've lost 2 games in a row too. So I guess, whenever an NFL team dips into the college ranks, you always wonder, man, is that the right guy? And Matt Rule's not on this, name wise, not on the same level as Saban or Sweeney and Clemson, but he's highly regarded, and so you always wonder, it's that big question mark: is this guy can do it on the next level? And I mean, what you see him? I mean, you see him more. You watch the games in every play more than I do. I'm looking at most of the time with the Panthers a box score or a scoreboard. But I mean, with the games he's won. And even in the two games they didn't win, they're playing pretty decent football. You got your best guy right now, not in the game, and so you know early indications. I know it sucks for wanting that number one pick and get maybe a future franchise quarterback. Well, I get all that, but at the same time, I'm not a Panther fan. But if I was, I also feel sort of good that hey man, this guy can coach. Look what he's doing.
Well, no, that's where like I'm conflicted because yes, number one pick. That's kind of. I mean, I'm shooting for a top 5 pick, of course, but these guys are playing for Matt Rule. They are legit. They have bought into everything that he's preaching. I mean, you can see it. He's got their attention. He does not look like a rookie coach out there. Someone that watches him in a year where there's no fans to distract you, so everything's amplified even more. I thought his flaws would stand out, because there's not as much announcer time. They focus on the sidelines more as opposed to the cutting to the fans and the cheerleaders and whatever it may be. So they focus on the sidelines a lot more. And all I see is a team that's rallying around this guy. Bridgewater continues to look great every single week. He's efficient. He ran the ball in today, his first run. I think that was huge for him, his first rushing touchdown since coming back from that injury. He never had one in New Orleans. So, I mean, that was a big thing. But I don't know. It's one of those things where it's 25 years of Panther football. I've watched all 25 of them, 25 years plus now. And we've been saddled in mediocrity outside of 2 seasons. And if this feels like another season where we had an opportunity at least to get somebody who could be a legitimate franchise quarterback, I actually think there's 2 of them in this next draft, one of them playing sparingly at North Dakota State. And then you've got Trevor Lawrence. And I would like to see us get one of those guys. But, Teddy's making the case to stay. I'm just afraid that this is going to be one of those where you end up saddled at 9, 10, 12, like always. And you get more of the same 8, 8, 9, 7, 8, 8, 9, 7. Maybe get lucky and hit 10 and 6 for a year. So I don't know. I want to be optimistic, but man, you've been watching the Steelers for longer than the Panthers have been a franchise. Like you get used to seeing something for so long, and it just becomes repetitive. And I see it coming again.
It's tough. It's when I know. The year where we're having, like, speaking of Steelers, where I know like one or 2 things. Number one, we're either not going to make the playoffs, or number 2, even if we sneak in, we're going to be an early exit.
Yeah.
The part of me, I almost feel guilty saying this, but part of me says, like, let's just wait. Listen, this ain't going to be the year. Let's get a pick. Like, I don't root against my team. That's sort of sacrilegious, but
right.
It's like the 2 voices. It's like the 2 people on each of your shoulder, right? The good one's like, no, you're not a real fan if you root against them.
Right.
You're bad. You're terrible, right? And the other guy's on the other shoulder, like, dude, we're not going nowhere. Do you want to turn the playoffs? We're gonna be the first. We'll lose the first game. Let's get a higher pick. And so you're hearing both of those voices. And you're like, you feel guilty almost either way.
And I think it's also because we're also, I mean, you and I both, I mean, you obviously for a little bit longer, but I mean, we both grown up watching football our entire lives. And so the old school way of thinking, you'd never consider thinking against that. But in this new NFL, the way salary caps are structured, the way everyone else's contracts are ballooning in other positions, you've got to score off of a rookie contract. Look at Super Bowl winners. Look at the teams that are going. They're hitting on draft picks in their rookie contracts. And so, that seems to be the way of the NFL right now. And so with the Panthers, I see them coming into this game as just, I don't know. They're shocking me. They are playing their minds out for Matt Rule. Mike Davis is I can't believe I'm saying this.
That's the thing too, Drew. That if I'm you, I hang my hat on. It's like,
Yeah,
this guy might be the right guy. You know what I mean?
Yes.
If they're playing for him like that now, listen. You don't think them players know? Like, hey, we could get like. What it tells me is they don't care right now about Trevor Lawrence. They like Teddy Bridgewater. Remember, they're in practice 5 days a week with this guy. If they didn't think he was really any hope, I don't think they'd play as hard.
No,
So,
I agree.
I think here's what you win. You keep Bridgewater for another 2-3 years, and then he's a bridge to that next guy.
No, I completely agree with you.
It's tough. It's tough when middle when you're 8-8, 9-7. It's a tough place to be. You almost
got
rather
me thinking about this. I gotta take my jacket off. Make me start to sweat.
You almost rather
it seriously is uncomfortable.
You almost rather be 3-13 or 13-3. That middle that you're so conflicted. Like, we're not going to do any damage. Let's just lose and get a higher pick. Or and then when you think like that, that other voice chimes in like, "What's the matter?"
And then they win. And then they win, and they look really good doing it against a team in Arizona that I thought was going to absolutely walk in there and shit whip us. Like,
we could talk about them, like like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Yep.
Like, what's going on?
They played terrible today, and a lot of that I think had to do with our game plan. But they didn't look in sync all day. They lost Drake early, which should not be that big of a loss, but it turned out to be. I mean, they could not establish anything once he was gone. But I credited a lot of that to Carolina. They suffocated this team all day long in every single aspect of the game. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens. But man, we'll move on now to I guess our game balls and goats. You want to go with 2 of them each this time?
Yeah, that'll work.
Cool. And guys, please remember to call in and join the show. I put the link in the comments. Give us a call. Any questions or comments, just call in and tell us how awesome your team is or how bad they suck. I'm curious to see what you guys thought about today's action. I know John is as well. So give us a call with any questions or comments that you may have. But John, we'll dive right into it. You want me to kick it off this week? Or
yeah, go ahead.
All right. Well, first game ball, I'll go on and go right back to him so we can get off of this game a little bit. But I'm going back to the Bengals game, but I'm not talking Joe Burrow, and I'm talking the other Joe, and I'm talking Joe Mixon. Jesus Christ, dude. Like, this kid, I knew he could play football, but he's incredible. I did not want to talk. I purposefully left his name out of my mouth the entire time we talked about that game because I wanted to talk about him here. This kid played amazing today. I drafted him in fantasy this year. I thought he was going to be really good. I did not expect to see this. I didn't expect to see this team this good, like we talked about, but I did not expect to see a Joe Mixon like this. I thought he was a serviceable to good guy that could play all 3 downs because he can catch out of the backfield, but almost seemed like he couldn't handle the physical toll of it. Now, I want to see what happens over 16 games this year, but I love what I saw out of Mixon today. 3 total touchdowns, did everything in the world you could ask for, and was a big, big, big reason Burrow got that first win today. So first game ball goes to Joe Mixon.
Well, I have 3 guys on my list. Well, guess what? He was one of them. Nice. So it'll be easy to just say the other 2. So I'll give you one. It's a guy I hate to give it to because I like to be critical of him, and he just because of what he did to Pittsburgh for many years, and kept us out of maybe a couple more Super Bowls we could have been in. But I'm a guy that gives credit where credit's due, and I've kind of critiqued him a little bit already early on, but today he came to play. That's Tom Brady, 5 touchdowns, and frankly, to 5 different receivers, and he was the difference in that game. That game was close. I mean, with Justin Herbert, the rookie, that was a shootout. Rookie,
Yeah.
Rookie and the old wily veteran, and the old wily veteran got him at the end. But man, it was right up until that last quarter, last minutes, and Brady looked good. He was accurate. He was spreading the ball around. He threw a pick six, a bad one, which he's done twice now this year. But you got to remember the guy's 82 years old. So this is what this is. Things like that are going to happen. You're not, that's the thing. Tampa Bay's not getting Tom Brady in his prime.
No.
But man, this was pretty close, minus that pick six, to Brady in his prime. And
well, I think I like that pick a lot. And I just wanted to piggyback. Sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to piggyback off something you had just said, and that was, the Brady that we're seeing. He took a long time to warm up today. Once he warmed up, he was on fire. That fourth quarter, they shut him out 10-0. The whole second half really was vintage Tom Brady. It looked like, I swear, I'm not used to seeing it. I swear I kept looking down thinking I was watching Patriot highlights. I'm like, I thought the game was canceled. And I'm like, oh, shit. No, that's just Tom Brady continuing to do what he's doing, making O.J. Howard look good, making all these guys look good that Jameis Winston couldn't, which Bruce Arians even called out in the postgame press conference, which I thought was funny. Saying that they would have gotten destroyed in that game with their quarterback they had last year. So thought that was pretty cute. Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny.
Well, just hearing you, if that's what he said, though, I don't think you do that, man. I
don't either.
You don't need to do that.
No, it was a cheap shot at him, 100%. Yeah. And he took it. He took it after a W, and he said it publicly.
And that just looks like a coach that still has sour grapes. The dude's gone. Yep. He's moved on. What point? What purpose does that serve? Yeah.
You got freaking Tom Brady. Dude, get over Jameis Winston. But yeah, he's still talking about him.
That's an odd. I didn't hear it. I'm just going based off your report of it. That's pretty cheesy, man. Take your win, praise your quarterback you have. Why are you talking about guys that aren't there no more? That's absurd. That you know what? Whatever you think of Bruce Arians, good coach, bad coach, middle of the road coach, that I don't care who you are. That's a pretty low ball thing to do. Reason for that. It ain't to motivate any of your guys.
No.
What's the point of that?
Exactly. No, I agree with you 100%. And I do agree with Brady getting one of the game balls. He led an incredible comeback. This was a game where I'm going to continue talking about this game because I'm going to go straight into my second game ball, and it's the other quarterback in this game. And that's the rookie Justin Herbert. And yes, he lost this game. I know. But this is a rookie that should not be playing right now, that has no business being in a starting quarterback right now. At least I didn't think until I watched this game today. And he went toe to toe with Tom Brady. Granted, they shut them out in the fourth quarter when it mattered most, but Tampa had the ball almost the whole fourth quarter. Justin Herbert today finished 20 of 25 for 290 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. And then, he also led the team in rushing, was 5 for 14. So, this kid is blowing my mind with what he can do. So my second game ball is going to go to the losing quarterback on the end of today's game, but someone that I thought was going to get the W over Brady, but stood toe-to-toe with Brady with a team that I thought had no business being in this game and almost beat him. So I've got to give this kid credit. I kind of thought he would be a great quarterback in a year or two. He has outshone everything that I thought he could do, and I'm actually really excited to watch this kid every single week. So I've got Justin Herbert.
Yeah, he made a throw early in that game. I watched this game. It was out here in New York. He made a throw to Guyton early, a dime on the money, only place you could put it. And like you said, he kind of coming in a little sooner than he anticipated, and he's playing with poise. Look at 2 quarterbacks that have got on the field, right? In Herbert and Burrow, and they look like they're ready to go, right? And then you look at 2 guys that were supposed to be can't miss, And is this the throw right here?
Yes, I wanted to pull it up because this is the one that I saw. If Twitter communicates with us today, we'll see if they're working.
Imagine you're the Jets and the Giants, right? You think you got your franchise quarterbacks in Darnold and Daniel Jones, and you see their struggles, and then you watch, Herbert and Burrow right out the gates having all this success. That's why quarterbacks to me is like they say, the hardest thing to do. I think it's hitting a baseball, and then it's being a quarterback in the NFL. And take our word for it, the throw was the real deal.
No, I was about to say, if Twitter would work with me, I would show this throw because it was absolutely phenomenal. It blew my mind. 53 yards on a dime.
We have yet to see Tua, but again, right now that those three quarterbacks, Tua will, is to be determined, TBD. But I think the other two guys are going to be good. Whether they're going to be very good or great, we'll see. I like Joe Burrow for sure. I really do. And I knew Herbert was going to be pretty good, but I'd be lying if I said I thought he was going to be this good this quick.
Got it.
And there it is. I mean, that throw was just a beauty. Like, if you didn't know that was a rookie making that play, and you see these uniforms, if you made this film a little more grainy, you'd think that was Dan Fouts.
Yes,
although Dan Fouts has never been that thin, and but under normal, I mean, that's a veteran throw made by a rookie. Yeah, and so man, if you're a Charger fan or a Bengal fan today, you're feeling good about your quarterback. Yeah. If you're a Jets fan or a Giants fan, you're like, whoops, right now. And that's the crazy world of the NFL, man, is that sometimes you just don't know. You think you know and you don't know. Sounds like the Real World episode. But, I don't know, man. And we could do a whole show on that. We touched on it last week too, with who gets his number one pick. And so now I'm waiting for Tua. Fitzpatrick is playing well, so I don't know when we're going to see Tua enter the fold. But you got Jalen Hurts waiting his turn in Philly. You got Jordan Love is going to be waiting a little bit longer the way Aaron Rodgers is playing. So I think it's right now. I mean, that's the attention as far as rookie quarterbacks go is going to be on Herbert and Burrow, and they're answering the call, and they're checking the boxes they need to check. And so both of those front offices and those teams have to be ecstatic right now with what they're seeing. I'm ecstatic, and I'm not even a fan of those teams.
Exactly.
And so, if you're on that team or the brass in the front office right now, you got to be feeling pretty good about that position.
Absolutely. So who you got for your third game ball today?
So I came in a loss, but when this guy is healthy and he still gets overlooked, I know sometimes we intermingle the hobby onto the show. So here's my moment where I've got a lot of this guy's stuff, Prism rookies, colored Prism rookies. I just believed in him. I know he had a couple years where he got hurt. The team lost today, but he had 10 catches for over 100 yards. He's the real deal when he plays. It took him a couple years to get situated. That's Devontae Parker in Miami.
Okay. Yeah. I like that. Devontae Parker. He's it has taken him a few years to get situated. I like you actually have a ton of his stuff, so I'd be perfectly happy with him catching fire and being Tua's go-to guy. But yeah, he looks to have figured it out. He looks to be very comfortable in that system. Like you said, 10 catches today. Fitzpatrick's doing enough. He still looks serviceable. He doesn't look terrible. The magic keeps going, at least I think for good reason. I don't think Tua needs to be out there yet. Not with this Miami team. So I love Devontae Parker. I always have. I liked him coming out of college. I thought he was thrown into a pretty tough spot. But I love what I saw today. They kept that game competitive in a game that they should have gotten killed in. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
The way
that's
Seattle
my
was
point
playing,
too.
yeah, the way Seattle had been playing, I mean, they should have walked in there and won this game 49-10. It should have been a rout. Instead, this was a competitive football game.
And I point to Parker for making it that way. I mean, the run game wasn't great, and he was the difference maker for making that a competitive game. I think once they get Tua, if you believe in Flores, I think he's actually going to turn out to be a halfway decent coach. Yeah. I think they got some parts there. They don't have the whole car, but they got some parts, and they're already making some noise. And I think as they add more pieces and put this assembly line together and put this thing together, and Parker is going to be a very important part to that.
Yeah, he absolutely is. All right, well, we'll move on to our GOAT section, and since we are a little into the show, we'll, I guess, keep it with 2 as well. And I'm going to get the first one out of the way right away. Just fucking defense in the Cowboys and Browns game. Like, just defense, period. Not any player, not any team. Every single defensive person that walked on that field today should be ashamed of what they did. There's not one that can walk off of that field and hold their head high. That was the most pathetic excuse of defense I've ever seen. Watch these touchdowns. These guys are 20 yards away from the corners by the time they catch the ball on both teams. And Dak, great, looked amazing. I mean, he was throwing the ball incredibly well. CeeDee Lamb looked amazing. But the defense on both sides of the ball, you got to be kidding me. Like we said in the intro, it's Tecmo Bowl, and I wanted to see. I thought I was going to see 100.
Dalton Schultz, Amari Cooper had 10 catches for over 100 yards. Dalton Schultz, a late round draft pick, is looking like a pretty good receiver in Dallas. But like you said, the defense can't catch a cold, and that's what you get. And the Dallas couldn't stop the run today. It was brutal, and that's with Nick Chubb getting hurt.
Yes, exactly.
So Cleveland runs for over 300 yards, and that's without Nick Chubb dominating.
Yeah.
So
could you ever imagine a scenario where that's thrown out there against the Cowboys, against a team like that, and just like the Cleveland Indians Twitter account, I know all Yankees fans have got to be pissed too, since all Yankee fans are Cowboy fans, but it was pathetic. This was a pathetic excuse of defense on both sides of the ball. I was in shock. Like, I kept waiting. I was like, okay, this can't keep going on. It just kept going on. My phone kept blowing up from my damn fantasy alerts of some wide receiver catching a 75-yard damn touchdown pass on a 2-play drive every single 5 minutes. I was like, dude, somebody just do something. But no. So defense.
But that's the thing with Dallas. They're only going to go as far as their defense. Like Dak, like you said, Dak's playing well. Every receiver on that team is playing like a number one guy. Zeke is Zeke. He had a kind of quiet day today. I think he kind of, once the game became a pinball match, he was sort of not the focal point. So I'll take him off the hook. His stat line wasn't great, but I don't blame him. I blame like what the game plan had to turn into, which really took him out of the main focal point.
100%.
Dallas is putting up points, but their defense is not stopping anyone. And so they're going to lose these type of games. It's what a lot of people said before the year, that their defense is their weak point, and they're going to give up points and lose games. Some games they probably should lose, they'll lose. And then some games they probably shouldn't lose, they'll lose because of the defense. Now, I don't know how people view this game. Some people think Cleveland's the better team. Some people think if you think Dallas is the better team, you're going to point to the defense and say the defense jacked one away on us. If you think Cleveland's the better team, you're going to say, well, Dallas shouldn't have won this game, but, man, they're not going to go very far with this defense. So, I mean, any way you slice it, the defense is not getting rave reviews, and it's going to be what bites them in the ass. And, Dak can put up, Tecmo Bowl numbers, and Jerry's got, that's this, Drew. What happens is this in the NFL. When you pay a position a lot of money, like a quarterback or a running back, although they don't do that with running backs as much anymore. But like a quarterback, what happens? You can't pay other positions. You get light, and I think we're seeing this. I know, Dak's on a franchise tag, but he's still making what, 30-something million a year?
Yeah.
That's a lot of money that you don't have to shore up your defense. And some of the decent guys they have are older. So they're on the other side of that hill, and I think it was exposed today. And Jerry's going to really have a tough call to make here, because I don't think any quarterback's worth 40-something million bucks, but Dak is really going to make him think here. And what does he do? Does he break back up the Brinks truck and say, you know what, let's just try to win 50 to 42 games like Arena League? Or does he say, you know what, I'm not going to pay you, Dak. You played great. I just can't justify it. Go somewhere else. Let you hamstring someone else's salary cap. We're going to get another quarterback. Maybe it won't be as good as you, but serviceable. And we're going to fix the big holes in this defense. That's what Jerry Jones has to figure out. I almost don't want to be him, because
I know
it's going to be tough.
I agree with you. I agree. That's going to be a very tough decision for them to make. I couldn't do it. I don't think they will, but I think we can all agree that the real winner here, and the guy who's got to be smiling the most, is Jason Garrett. I mean, come on, dude. Like, for years, this dude's had to brush off questions about it. He's sitting wherever the fuck he is and just smiling. Just
I don't
laughing.
I don't know how much laughing he's doing on the Giants.
Now, speaking of that, let's move on to my other GOAT of the week. And they play for those exact 0-4 Giants. But I got to go with Daniel Jones, man. This is all right. Look, I know they don't have Saquon, but you have a rushing team. You have a rushing offense. It's not like it's completely gone. Gallman had 7.5 yards per carry today. Freeman was very serviceable for 3 yards per carry. It's averaging over 5 yards from your running backs. I mean, you're getting a running game. You're playing a Chargers team that for some reason plays down to their opponents every single week. This is a game they should have destroyed. It was 10-7 or 9-7 in the fourth quarter. I mean, this was a very close game, and Daniel Jones played absolutely awful. And you sent me the picture. I mean, where you got him morphing into Eli Manning. I mean, this is I don't know, man. He looked like a serviceable quarterback on a football team that was moving forward. Instead, it looks like the two New York teams, along with possibly Dallas, are going to be fighting for this number 1 overall pick. And both of these New York teams supposedly have their guy at quarterback. But you could make a case that there's two very young guys that are very close to getting booted off of these teams. And if the Giants tank this year and they get that number 1 overall pick, you want to talk about a team with decisions to make. We talked about the Jets and Darnold. I mean, you've got to look at Daniel Jones and say, do you pass on a guy like Trevor Lawrence to continue this project that you wanted to do with Daniel Jones? I'm not sold on him. And after today, man, this was a bad football game. Just a bad game.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. Daniel Jones, when they made that pick at number 6, and when they made that pick, me and my son Jordan, you know him, we watched the draft. It's tradition. We order pizza, wings. We heard the rumors, and we talked about it before the draft. And we both said, man, there's no way they're going to trade up. There's no way they're going to take him at 6. They got a later pick. He's going to be there at that later pick. They're going to get him. And I really don't see, I mean, when is really the last time a guy was really sort of unheralded in college and come into the pros and light it up? It's very, very rare. Yep. Like, there's a lot of guys that light it up in college that don't translate to the NFL. But when is the guy who's kind of unheralded in college come in and light it up? And so I think the Giants fell in love with a combine. They fell in love with a couple, game tapes from a couple games, what I see him as like right now, he's like a backup for like a long-time backup, sort of like, when you want to put Matt Barkley or even between Matt Barkley and Nick Foles, a guy that might come in and for a game or two and play well and get you a win or two, but you ain't going to count on him. He's a turnover machine. If he ain't throwing interceptions, he's fumbling the ball. He averages a lost fumble one per game. That's a fumble. That's not the interception he throws. That's a separate category.
Exactly.
This guy's been a disappointment. I think, let's talk about the Giants. If they played everybody next week at once, right? If that was possible, what game would they honestly be favored in? The Jets? Maybe the Jets game. Maybe the Jets. And even that game, I think I'd probably push it.
I'd probably push it.
Yeah, so who – I mean, I don't know who they're beating this year. Like, where's their wins going to come from? Because I think if they were on a schedule against all 31 teams, because you can't play yourself, they would be the underdog in probably at least 30 of those games, including Jacksonville would beat the Giants today. The Bengals would beat the Giants today. I'm trying to think of all the bad. Miami would easily beat the Giants today. So who would the Giants be favored against? The only one I can honestly think of, the Jets might be a pick'em, and the Jets might still be favored.
And they might give it. I mean, let's be honest. The NFC East is pretty much just a joke this year. All the teams.
Washington. I forgot Washington.
Yeah. So I mean, all these teams.
Washington. That might be a pick'em game too.
Yeah. I could see possibly some of these home games in the division as maybe something that they squeak out. I think that's where their wins come, is against Philly, Washington, or Dallas. All those teams are freaking awful, at least on the defensive side of the ball. It looks like Philly, I don't know if they've come back in this game, but I know San Francisco had the lead just a minute ago. But
here's the other thing. We don't talk about Washington, Drew.
Yeah.
Right? They're not a great team either.
No.
So let's say they get the number one pick. They got Dwayne Haskins, who, everything I read, they're not enamored with him.
No. There's a report out that says he has to play good every single week to legitimize them keeping him. I mean, they're putting reports out now.
Yeah, so if Washington gets that number one pick, because the Giants beat them once or twice, they're going to probably take Trevor Lawrence, and then it's bye-bye Haskins, whether and you got to trade him. You can't have him as holding the clipboard for Trevor Lawrence. If you're going to have Trevor Lawrence, you're going to want like a veteran backup so he can learn from him.
Yeah.
And you're going to learn from Dwayne Haskins, who's shown his struggles. And so, you're probably, when we're really talking about this, it's really making me think we're going to see some young quarterbacks wearing new uniforms rather quick into their careers. The Daniel Jones, the Sam Darnolds, the Dwayne Haskins. Maybe two of those three guys are going to be.
Yes.
I can almost guarantee you one of them is going to be either on a different team or definitely not the starter anymore. And that's the thing with the NFL, man. It's not for long. It's the old Jerry Glanville line, right? Yeah. And it's true. You gotta produce, man. There's no, we talk about rebuilds and reloads. There really is no rebuild in the NFL.
No, not anymore.
It's got to happen quick. And so,
I touched on having to hit on rookie contracts earlier, and I think what you just said is what we're about to see with this draft coming up. I think you're going to start to see some of these rookie quarterbacks that teams don't see them. Maybe a guy who's in the second or third year, but they don't see a Super Bowl before they have to re-sign him to whatever monster contract he wants. I think you're going to see some of these teams say, forget it, we'll try again. forget it. We'll try again.
Yeah,
Especially if you're still picking at number 1 or 2, why not? Like, if you're still that bad, why not just keep hitting reset, if you want to call it that, whatever it is, until you hit the guy that can actually capitalize on it. And I think that's kind of what the NFL is with a draft strategy now. And so I agree with you. I think 2 of these guys, and I think both of them are in New York, I think 2 of these guys end up on different teams next year, and that's Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold. I don't think either of them are on the same team. I do think Dwayne Haskins will stay just because I know how stubborn Ron Rivera is. I do think he will end up staying there, but I think you're going to start to see this new draft is going to be the first in a long line of teams doing this.
I know we talk about Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones a lot just because it is a big topic.
Yeah.
If we're comparing both of these guys, I like Sam Darnold's more of an NFL quarterback than Daniel Jones. So, I was talking with Jordan the other night. Like, if the Jets trade Darnold because they wind up with the number 1 pick and they're going to take Lawrence, I'm a Steeler fan, I'll take him because I think talent's there. I just think his situation, Adam Gase is not helping him. The New York media is brutal. I'm from New York. I know what it's all about. It's not Sam Darnold's not a New York kind of guy. Like, I know he's making the best of it, and he's doing a pretty good job in the public relations department. But ideally, he needs a smaller market where he's not going to get bombarded. He needs a real coach, which Adam Gase isn't. And I don't even blame it all on Sam Darnold. I mean, sure, he's got to own some of it too, but he needs to change the scenery. If they get the number 1 pick, he's probably going to get it. And if I'm Pittsburgh, I don't know what you have to give up, but I take a flyer there. If the price isn't too high, a 2nd round pick even, I make that move if I'm Pittsburgh because you might hit on something with Roethlisberger getting old. And he could be that sort of next guy in the right situation. But I think we both can agree it ain't happening in Jets land. I know Jets fans ain't gonna like to hear that, but that's what it is. And so if the Jets can, if the Jets get the number 1 pick and they're going Lawrence and they can trade Darnold for a number 2 pick, you're gonna have to do that. And if I'm the Steelers and that's the price tag, I'm calling them up ASAP. I'm trying to jump the line and like, hey, you're gonna have our number 2 pick. We want Darnold. Let him learn from Ben for 1 year, and then give him a shot. And the Pittsburgh media is a lot different than the New York City media, and it could be the right situation. Tomlin's a way better coach than Adam Gase. I believe that's apparent now. And so, like you said, I think it's probably both of those New York City quarterbacks are wearing different jerseys next year. I'm not opposed. I don't really like Daniel Jones, but I'll take Sam Darnold to learn from Ben for a year, and then give him a shot at winning. Seeing what he can do.
Yep. No, I agree with you. And like I said, I think this is going to be the first draft we start to see a lot of this of, but I do think it's going to be the new normal. Well, anyway, guys, we'll move on now before we wrap everything up, I guess, for the week. I do have a shit whip of the week this week, John. I had a couple, and I really wanted to show one of them, but the replay just didn't strike me as much as the actual, when it happened, and that was the Josh Allen play.
I thought you were going to go with the fight at the end of the Giants.
I was going to, but then I saw this, and I'm going to pull this up because this hit's just fucked up, man. Dude.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
He was ejected from the game for targeting. This is 100% just a bullshit hit. And the kid's lucky he's not knocked out. I mean, he looked like he almost did get knocked out for a second there if you watch. But I mean, he comes in, leads with his helmet, and just destroys this kid.
Harrison Smith's a great player. You got to be better than that. And that's unfortunate because something like that's going to overshadow all his talent.
Yeah.
If he does, I know it's one play, but if that like something that becomes a trend, you
Yes.
know, we're going to talk more about that than the fact that Harrison Smith's probably an All-Pro safety most years, and you know, it's unfortunate.
Speaking of the other one that you were talking about, well, it just popped up. But here we go. We got some clear video of the fight that broke out that you were discussing earlier.
Now, do you know I know the backstory here. Did you hear the backstory of this?
No.
All right. So the fight is between Jalen Ramsey, who's usually a very quiet, unassuming man, sarcastic. That's called sarcasm. Jalen Ramsey, who doesn't shut up, and Golden Tate. And Jalen Ramsey was with Golden Tate's sister for some time. I don't know how long. They have 2 kids together, and they had a public breakup where they split up. And so for the last year, Golden Tate's been, you know, sort of in the press, in the media, taking shots at Jalen Ramsey, breaking up with his sister, her 2 kids. And so today they lined up against each other. Obviously, Golden Tate's the wide receiver. Jalen Ramsey's a corner. And they're basically brother-in-laws, you know, even though they're...
See, I was unaware of any of this.
Yeah. And this so all great. Game, this is the end of the game, but all game, they were talking junk. They actually had to be sort of like separated in the game. It didn't get to this level.
Yeah.
And then once the game was over, they basically made a beeline towards each other. It was like a hockey. You know, they drop the gloves and throw off the helmet and then go towards each other. Great. It was that sort of deal. And so these are brother-in-laws in the sense.
That's awesome.
You know, Jalen Ramsey's former woman is Golden Tate's sister, and they have 2 kids together, and they broke up, and Golden Tate doesn't like Jalen Ramsey because of it. Days of Our Lives. I love it.
Jesus Christ, dude.
So that was what if I would have picked shit whip of the week. I mean, you got it's got all the ingredients. You got a backstory. You got in-game stuff going on, and then you got the finale. So,
well, if I had known that, I mean, you got a freaking.
I'm not gonna lie. I found that out today.
If I had known that there was an Oxygen reality TV show off of this fucking game, I would have said,
it's like a really bad Hallmark movie. Like
it is. Bad one. It's very so like any Hallmark movie. No, you were right. Sorry, Hallmark.
So and listen,
you play Psych and Monk, so I do like it. Yeah.
Full disclosure, I found that out today. I don't want to talk like I've known from day, but
that's hilarious.
And so you know, it had to be separated. Talk about an ugly game for both teams. I mean, the Rams, who were looking pretty good, they really stunk it up today. They should thank their lucky stars they were playing the Giants, where they could, you know, that's how bad the Giants are. You can play a shitty game like the Rams did and still escape with a win. You know, and so just crazy stuff, man. You couldn't script this stuff.
No, I mean, I gotta go read this stuff now. That as soon as we're done here in just a minute, that's the first thing I'm doing is going to read this damn soap opera of this freaking fight, because that's funny stuff right there. But so I will switch my shit whip of the week to that Days of Our Lives fight, because that's just absolutely awesome. But well, Days of Our Lives seems like a good place to end this week's show, man.
Who knew we were talking about soap operas? Right?
I know.
I don't watch them, but I know what they are.
Yeah, same here. It looks like we had one in the NFL today, but good week in the NFL. I thought COVID hitting obviously sucks. Hopefully it, we're gonna have to see how this plays out, man. Yes. You know, it's early going for us to sit here, either one of us, and to say with 100% certainty that this season's gonna go exactly as planned. I don't. That's why I left it out.
That's
why I didn't really touch on it.
Yeah. I think we got to go week by week. We saw what happened with Tennessee. There's stuff slowly trickling out, that there's some stuff not good there. I'm selfish. I'm a huge NFL guy. Obviously, I'm doing a podcast.
Yeah.
with you and enjoy it. I hope we can get through this year. I hope no one else obviously gets COVID, and that's the thing, man, with this COVID-19. I know most people survive it. I think what's the stat? Like 98, 99%.
Sure.
But you still don't want anyone to get it. I don't want to get into politics, but the president, the first lady have it. I'm reading stuff online. I know I posted this on my personal Facebook page. People like celebrating the fact that your president got COVID. Like that's a really sad commentary.
And I agree with that. Sorry, I get really pissed off about this subject because I haven't really talked about it on this show, but those that listen to my other shows and listen to my work, both my parents got COVID down in Florida. My stepdad and my mom. My stepdad got really fucking sick. Like, it's no joke. I don't like seeing that kind of stuff either. So it's frustrating and it's serious. And, it's going to be interesting to see with the NFL what actually happens. Luckily, my parents were able to, get through it and be some of the people that were fine from it. But, you never know how it is going to affect people. So I hope it stays out of the NFL. It's not going to. We're going to have postponed games. We talked about it at the beginning of the year. You're not isolating in these bubbles yet, like the NBA is or anything. If you're going to continue to do the travel, you're going to have some teams do this. I mean, I say luckily, like it's a good thing, but I mean, the Patriots, it's almost lucky that they're the road team that had to travel. Like I said, they own planes. They can take their private planes. They don't have to set all this stuff up. They're prepared for this a little more than anybody else, really. But yeah, like you said, Tennessee stuff coming out. Obviously, y'all's game pushed back week 7 or 8 now.
So they basically this became our bye week,
right?
And now I don't I know Tomlin's not happy about it because now you lose your kind of scheduled bye week. Yeah. The bye week they had was going to be right before the Baltimore game, which is obviously going to be a very difficult game. And now you don't have that bye week, and now you have here's your schedule back to back. You got to play the Titans followed by the Ravens, and that the degree of difficulty goes up. Now I know some will argue and say, John, they had to play those two teams anyway. What difference does it make when the game? And you still got you're either going to beat them or you're going to lose to them, right? But I think that's the easy answer, but listen, we all know if you really follow football and you're a fan of a team, a bye week, there's some strategy with a bye week. You got to get guys healthy. And so you had the bye week before the Ravens game. You got it this week. It doesn't really help you. We had, Deontay Johnson in concussion protocol. Yeah. But for the most part, we're fairly healthy. So the bye week becoming this week really didn't help us too much, where maybe it would have helped us in week 7, depending on what the situation was then before the Ravens game. You lose that. I know there's nothing they can do. I'm not crying about it. You had to do that with the current events being COVID-19 and the pandemic. I get it.
But it does screw everything up. Yeah.
It does change the complexion of how the season could go. To say otherwise is not being forthright. And so, listen, we're 3-0. We got you got to play who's in front of you. You're either going to beat them or they're going to beat you. I get all that. I don't even disagree with that. But the fact that it's like you take a vacation from work, right? And it's 4 weeks from now. Hey, man, my vacation's 4 weeks from now. And then your boss comes in and says, no, John, no. You have to work that week you wanted off.
But you can take now off.
But you're taking this week off. See, I'll see you next week.
Right.
Like what? What?
Yeah, it screws some shit up. Yeah. Absolutely.
So, to say it doesn't affect mindset or how this may play out is it's being disingenuous. Yeah. At the same time, I'll say that, Drew, there's nothing they could do. I'm not, there's no other way to do it. It just could affect the outcome on the field and what happens. And it is what it is. This is the card you're dealt. I mean, what do you know? Other than the only way to avoid that, and I don't want this. This is not what I'm saying. The only way you would avoid a situation like that is you say, all right, Tennessee forfeits the game. But we can't do that either.
Yeah.
So, Tennessee forfeits, and the Steelers are 4-0, and they still have the bye week in week 7. But you can't. I don't want that. The Steelers don't want that.
Nobody does.
Yeah.
Nobody does.
And so you can't do that. So it is what it is. But, yeah, it's going to be a factor into how this goes.
Absolutely. No, I agree with you.
If we can win one of those 2 games, I'll take it.
Absolutely. And I wanted to hear, that's actually what I wanted to hear before we closed up for today, was your opinion on that, since your team was one of the first affected. And I agree with you. I think bye weeks are a lot more important than people realize. It's not just the time your team's not on TV for a week. Like, those are big, big weeks. You look at a schedule in the NFL. I mean, you look at this 49ers game right now, last week, dominating. They come into a game this week, maybe a little bit more banged up than they were last week, a little bit off, and they're playing a close game with Philly. Philly also comes off a shitty game. They're playing a little better. There's a lot that goes into this, whether it be getting guys healthy, getting guys on a roll. Like you said, you would like an extra week to prepare for Baltimore. And you didn't have any devastating injuries at this moment. So the bye week doesn't.
Yeah, let's be real. So. That's why they don't, under normal circumstances without pandemic, that's why they don't schedule bye weeks this early in the year. They wait a little bit. So, you know what I mean? There's timing involved. Under normal circumstances, there's no week 4 buys.
No.
And so now we took a week 4 buy. I don't think it benefited us tremendously. We didn't have a lot of guys in the shop getting worked on. I mean, they're always – listen, you know this as well as I do, and I always say that line a lot now that I think about it. But there's little nicks. Everyone's hurt once the season starts. As a former – you played, I played – You're sore, but they're not any, Steelers wise, knock on wood here. There isn't any real significant injuries.
Right.
Deontay Johnson's dealing with a concussion, helps him out. But overall, it's I would have rather had that bye week in the week 7 as originally slated. And now we don't, but it is, you still got to play the games. It is what it is. Week 5's opponent is the same one. We just had a week to wait for, a week to work on some
and that's
stuff.
A good thing. At least they haven't, at least they didn't have to move too much of that schedule around, because like you said, the other alternative is possibly having to reshape an entire schedule. And then what do? Then you really force a team to make adjustments that I don't think they're prepared for. So it's going to be interesting. I hope we don't have any of these problems after a team has a bye week.
I hope that's the pin. Like, I hope that's the worst of it, and we're we get through it. But I don't know, man. It's tough. I think when you don't play in a bubble like the NBA and NHL did, people are bouncing around, going different places. All you got to do is run into one person who has it, and that's it.
That's where it goes. We've seen what happens.
What's to say, like, a whole team, 60-70% of them don't get it.
Right. Yep.
Like, what do you do?
I hope they don't.
That's not a 1 week fix in that point.
No, absolutely not. And I mean, I hope we don't get there. But
me either. Me either. But you gotta throw it out. You gotta think about it.
Of course you do. I mean,
and I'm sure the NFL has. I don't know what their answer is. I don't think they're not going to talk about that stuff ahead of time, because they don't talk about people. No, they don't want they don't want to even think on that level. But you never know. You just don't.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we'll wrap it up there for today. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks, John, as always, for coming by and hanging out. And guys, make sure to call in next week with any questions or comments that you do have. But
man, I'd love to hear other people's opinions, especially on the number 1 pick, on the Giants, on the Jets. I know, even if you're not here's the other thing, Drew. And I know you'll agree with this. You don't have to be a fan of that team to talk about them. So you don't have to be a Giants or a Jets fan to talk about what they might do with that
Right.
number one pick should they land it. Like, your
Exactly.
opinion still matters. I'm a
Yeah.
Steeler fan, but I'm talking about 31 other teams
Other
too.
teams,
Like,
yep.
so whether you're a fan of the team or not, call in, tell us where we're wrong, we're right, or even if you agree, or maybe you sort of agree, but you see it going a little bit differently. We'd love to hear from you, banter with you. We don't bite. You're probably going to be better looking than both of us if you come on the screen, so you don't got anything to fear there. And you see it. I forgot who it was last week. They didn't come on the screen, but they came on and asked the question. You can do it in that form too.
Absolutely. Like John said, you don't have to call in and do video. You can call in, just talk, let us know. Hey, even if you just want to vent about your team and we're not talking about it, change the subject on us. We don't care. But guys, we will wrap it up there. So John, we'll put our picks out this week. But till next week, guys, we'll see you later. Peace.
Roughing the passer calls.